Wright & Couch are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts, the attorneys with Josh Wright from the Hollis, Wright & Couch Law Firm, and host David Lamb.
Hello and welcome into The Attorneys. Appreciate you spending some time with us on this Sunday evening. For the next half hour, we are going to talk about identity theft and how to prevent it, and look forward to some great questions from you on this subject matter. You can call, text, email, the information you'll see on your screen all throughout the program. And leading the conversation with the firm of Hollis, Wright & Couch is our friend Josh Wright. Good to see you, Josh.
You too, as always. Hope you had a great week. You know, this is a topic that impacts every single person that is watching this show.
Yeah, that's true.
It affects you, me, it affects our guest host, and identity theft is significant. And some of the things we're going to be talking about today is how to protect yourself from identity theft. If you have been subject to identity theft, what you can do, some of the options that you got. When we talk about this kind of topic, we go to guys like Micah Adkins with the firm Burke, Harvey and Frankowski. Now, these guys are rock stars. They've been on the show several times on different topics. They know this area of the law, and bringing Mike on is truly a treat to the viewers to get some free advice on how to protect yourself from identity theft and what you do if you have been subject to identity theft. Now, I will say this at the start. Had I known the two of y'all were actually related, I may not have brought him on the show. But
and for good reason.
For good reason. But on a serious note, we are super excited to have you on tonight. I really believe this is a treat for the viewers because this is something that impacts all of us.
Thank you, Josh and David. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to speak with your viewers today. This is an extremely important topic that affects every consumer in the United States.
Yeah, it is just amazing the number. You hardly can't read the newspaper or the news and someone's identity has been stolen. I was telling you, I mean, just recently we're going through this. My daughter Jessica, you know Jessica, in college, lost her wallet. It was stolen. It's gone. We're going through having to, okay, what was in there and what can happen with that. Help us understand, first of all, let's start way high with the view. What is identity theft?
Starting with the basics, David, identity theft is the unauthorized use of your personal identifying information. Someone may use your personal information to either open up new accounts or access existing accounts that you may already have.
Okay. And because we are such, it's so easy to do banking now. We can do it all of that on our phone. Is it really more cause for concern now than ever before?
I say no. It's always been out there. I think it's in the media more. We're more aware that it's taking place. And I think with technology, what it has done is simply provided another medium for identity thieves to obtain your personal information.
Right. Are there some things you can do to protect yourself? Like before the show, I mean, one great piece of information, you said I had my Social Security card in my wallet. If I lose my wallet, the person now has my identification plus my Social Security number. I know my number. No need to carry it in my wallet, right?
That's right.
Good piece of advice.
No need to carry around your Social Security card in your wallet. In the event that it gets lost or stolen, then the identity thief will not only have your photo identification card, but they'll also have your Social Security card.
What can they do with what they find in your wallet or your personal information? I mean, potentially what's possible?
Well, obviously they can try to access your accounts. Maybe go to a bank branch and use the identifying documents to say they're that person to get into your bank account. But an identity thief can also use that information, David, to go and apply for a job, to try to gain employment, or perhaps go get an apartment or even a mortgage in your name, or worse, if that person is arrested, they may use your identifying information to say that's who they are.
That's incredible
scary,
when you start. When you start to think about that. There have to be some things that are common sense things that we can do to kind of prevent this stuff. What do you see and what do you recommend?
Certainly, Josh, and you've already hit on one of them, and that's, what's in your wallet? Do you have personal identifying documents that you don't need to carry around with you? Perhaps in Jessica's case, one thing, make a photocopy of everything that's in your wallet. front and back of credit cards and keep that in a secure spot, maybe in a safe at the house. That way, if you do lose your information, you know exactly what was in your wallet at that time, or your purse. Other things, simple. If you've got financial statements that are coming in the mail to you, are you just throwing them in the trash?
Yeah.
Or are you shredding them before you do it? So simple tips just like that can help prevent you from becoming a victim of identity theft.
Now, there are claims, I mean, obviously criminal penalties for people that have engaged in identity theft. Are there civil claims that an individual has against somebody that has tried to steal their identity or has somehow accessed their information? Yes,
Josh, there are. There are civil claims, federal and state claims that a victim may have. Alabama has a Consumer Protection Act, which provides a private cause of action against the identity thief. It also provides for statutory penalties and attorney's fees. Likewise, under federal law, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, often referred to as the FCRA, provides consumers with a private cause of action against the credit bureaus and furnishers of data for not blocking fraudulent information that appears on your credit report.
Help us understand who these folks are, these identity thieves. Are they shadowy figures? I mean, who's doing all this?
We don't know because they're imposters, right, David? And these folks may be young persons, they may be older persons, they may be someone that's using low-tech means like stealing your mail, stealing your garbage, and trying to obtain your personal information. Or they may be someone that's more highly skilled technically, that's trying to access your personal information from a Wi-Fi network, or breaking into an employer's server and obtaining personal information.
Is that what are the methods that they employ? I mean, how most commonly how would they get my information?
Most commonly, identity thieves still use low-tech means. Dumpster diving, taking your trash. In Alabama, most of us have mailboxes on the street. Yeah. And our postal worker generally comes by the same time of the day every week. In the event that you're at work and you're not there until the end of the day, sometimes identity thieves may make their rounds in neighborhoods, stealing your mail in hopes of finding either a credit application or finding maybe a bank statement or a credit card statement to use that identifying information to either access your account or open new accounts.
I wonder sometimes when I'm on the phone and I'm ordering something, a plane ticket, or I'm booking a room somewhere, and I'm talking with somebody on the other end of the line, I'm giving them my address, my name, and I'm giving them information related to my credit card, including the credit card number, and they ask for the identifying secret number on the back. Is that enough for somebody to be able to steal an identity? Because I always get concerned about that, and at the end of the day, it's something we all have to do on a daily basis to be able to book things online, like through Amazon.com and other companies. I get nervous about that, though. What's your thought on that?
Well, and number one, you're pointing out that you're in a situation that you recognize your identity may be compromised. Yeah. In other words, if you're giving this personal information to someone over the telephone, are they who they say they are? And what are they going to do with your information? And what I suggest in those scenarios, you pointed out that you contacted them. You called them to make this travel arrangement. You should be on extra high alert if you're getting a call, perhaps saying, we want to check your reservation, or we want to confirm your credit card number. And in those scenarios, you need to be on high alert.
Yeah. David, I know we're probably getting ready to go to break, but I will tell you, one of the things people need to watch out for, too, is email. Email spam is sent out to people all over this country on a daily basis that will ask you on behalf of your bank to log into your account and provide information where you actually think that you're going to your bank, and the reality is it's just a shell website where you're giving identifying information. It has happened to me in the last 10 years. And so I know personally what it can do. And people need to be very, very cautious. I think that was some great advice, that when you're going to somebody to do a transaction, totally different than when they're coming to you.
That's right.
So that call that we just want a trip to Costa Rica, probably not Don't give them all my info. That's the tip. Time for our first break of the evening. As we head to break, a reminder of how you can get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. Also find the firm Hollis, Wright & Couch. Search that term. Find them on Facebook, Hollis_Wright. Find them on Twitter. Some great tips to protect your identity. More of that coming right up.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis, Wright & Couch, and thanks for watching The Attorneys on Alabama's 13. Now, we hope you, a friend, or a loved one never need legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of the show is simple. Provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free, so if you have questions specific to this show or related to other civil legal matters, call, email, or text us to talk with one of our lawyers. You can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter to learn about important legal news that could affect you or your family. Or simply contact us by going to alabamas13.com and click on the Attorneys link. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us and for watching The Attorneys right here on Alabama's 13.
Welcome back into The Attorneys. Our conversation tonight, protecting yourself from identity theft, and boy, all kinds of examples of why this is a relevant conversation. As we begin segment 2, want to remind you that you could get in touch with us. Love your questions. Call, text, email those in, and we'll pass them along to our experts.
Talk to us about actually obtaining a credit report, because it seems to me that if you're monitoring your credit on a monthly or a yearly basis at least, that's one way you can eliminate some of these problems.
It's one way that you can detect some of these problems, Josh. There are several different ways to obtain a credit report. In 2003, Congress enacted FACTA, which is the Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act, and it's an amendment to the FCRA. And under FACTA, consumers for the first time have the right to obtain what's called a free annual disclosure, and that's your right to one free credit report from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion through the central source. And during the break, I saw that we put up the telephone number for the central source, and that's one way to obtain your free credit reports over the telephone. You can also request your credit reports online at annualcreditreport.com, or, as I recommend, the best way is through the mail to central source directly. And there's a one-page form to complete to obtain your report, and that's something that I can make available to the viewers.
Yeah, anybody who's got that question, they can simply call and we'll provide that information to them at no cost, obviously. And so I think people don't recognize there actually is not just one reporting agency. There are 3 separate reporting agencies, are there not?
There are 3 separate nationwide consumer reporting agencies, and those are Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. In addition to the 3 nationwide consumer reporting agencies, what most people do not know is there's an additional 300 credit reporting agencies out there.
Okay. And if somebody sees something on a credit report that is not accurate, is there a challenge ability where they can challenge that in writing or through the internet somehow to make sure that there is a notation placed on the credit report for somebody that's going to be looking for it in the future?
Yes. And this is the way that process works, Josh, is a consumer has the right to dispute any incorrect or incomplete information contained on their credit report. So when you receive that credit report from Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, you're going to see an address on there. And you can write to that address and explain what's inaccurate on your file or incomplete and why it's incomplete. And I recommend to consumers to make a copy of their dispute letter and to send it by certified mail. The credit reporting agencies must perform a reasonable investigation and a timely investigation. The certified mail receipts will indicate that the consumer reporting agency received the consumer's dispute and the date that it was received.
And do you send it to all 3?
You know, it depends. If the error is appearing on all three reports, then I would say yes, send it to all three. If it's only one bureau that's reporting the incorrect information, that's where you need to focus your attention.
Okay. Let's go to some of the questions that we've got. Question here. What are some ways to prevent identity theft, specifically when using a computer or being online? Because that's where this person does most of their business.
Great question. We've already addressed some of the low-tech means to protect your identity. Obviously, we live in a more high-tech world every day. Whether you're at the grocery store and the patron behind you is shoulder surfing and looking for your credit information as you go to swipe it at the cashier or at the register, be aware of that person behind you, that they may have a camera phone out. They may not be texting their friend. They may be trying to take a picture of your credit card. Likewise, be aware that if you're using a Wi-Fi connection on a public network, perhaps at a local restaurant or convenience store now, we see this more and more offering Wi-Fi. Be aware that there's other people on that network. So you may not want to share personal information or make banking transactions while you're on that network for others to see. And then finally, I would suggest everyone, if you have a laptop or even a mobile device, you should have some type of anti-spam, antivirus software on there to help protect you from others accessing your information.
Do you think, Micah, because I'm sure you get this question, do you think the online banking websites that we now can go to on our phones to transfer money and those that are online, not at our computer, are those reasonably safe if you're in a secure network when you're using them?
Josh, the online banking is just as safe and secure as the bank down the street. The bank down the street is open to vulnerabilities just like any online provider. Whether it's an employee that's taking information or someone that is accessing that information physically in a bank or online. I say this, that you need to be aware of, are you going to the bank itself? Or make sure that you're going to the official site and not going to some phishing site or spam site that appears to be the bank that you do business with.
Yeah, I was mentioning offline in a break that I represented a gentleman who thought that they were purchasing a vehicle through an online site that was a legitimate site because the basic site was legitimate, but they were asked by someone to go outside of that site to a third-party location, something I would have done with confidence that I was operating through this company, and at the end of the day they got taken for it. Luckily we were able to recover that back for the individual, but at the end of the day it just goes to show you kind of the main rule that we talked about. When someone's coming to you asking for information versus you're coming to them, it's a totally different deal, and you've got to have different sensors up.
And quickly, is that a red flag, like what his friend was leaving the site, that everyone, if you were to say the name of that company, everybody knows that, to a site that we never heard of before? Red flag?
Red flag, for sure, David. Be aware, you know, Josh pointed out that it was a redirect to a third party. It's no longer on the official site.
It's a bad sign.
That's when the antennas should go up, and want to make sure that this is a legit deal.
Yeah, we believe people are trustworthy, and when you're dealing with financial information, that's where you have to be so cautious.
Yeah, you do. Time for our second break. Great conversation tonight. Would love to get you involved in it as well. Call, text, email. Find the firm of Hollis, Wright & Couch on Facebook and Twitter as well. Stay tuned. Our final segment of The Attorneys coming right up.
I'm Steve Couch with the law firm of Hollis, Wright & Couch. You know, when you serve on a jury, you might expect to have all the evidence presented to you during a case. But there's some forms of evidence that are not allowed in court. In tonight's Legal 411, we're answering the question, why can't jurors see police incident reports? You know, most jurors would like to see crash reports during a trial, especially since these documents almost always show the investigating officer's opinion on who was at fault for the crash. Unfortunately, Alabama law prohibits the introduction of such reports into evidence. Alabama law also states that no such accident report shall be used as evidence in any trial, civil or criminal, arising out of an accident. According to the lawmakers who wrote and approved this rule, the reason accident reports cannot be admitted as evidence is that a jury might place too much weight on an official document, such as a police report. Now, there are some exceptions to this rule, of course, but most courts generally won't allow this evidence to be shown to a jury. Despite this rule, police officers who investigate crashes are still allowed to testify. They can tell a jury what they saw at the scene of the crash, including road conditions, the positions of the automobiles. An officer can also inform a jury of most every statement that the people who were involved in the crash may have said to that officer during his or her investigation. The accident report can even be used to refresh a police officer's memory on the crash, but the actual document, the report, that cannot come into evidence. An officer's opinion of who is at fault is also excluded by Alabama law. That's because the jury is charged with deciding fault based on all the facts presented during the case. Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis, Wright & Couch want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question that you send in. That's our pledge and promise to you. Thanks again for watching The Attorneys here on Alabama's 13.
So much great information and great ground to cover. A few minutes remaining, still time for you to get your questions to us. Covered some great ground and some information that really is helpful.
Yeah, you know, I have heard, Micah, that sometimes it is better to do a with a credit card, do a credit transaction as opposed to a debit transaction. Is there a rationale for that? Is there a reason for that?
Yes, and it makes sense. With a credit card, you're afforded more protections than you are with a debit card. For example, if a fraudulent charge is made with your debit card, you may have to dispute that charge in less than 30 days, otherwise you may have to pay it. On the other hand, with a credit card, you're afforded more time. Often it's the statement time period, the 30 days, sometimes more. You also have a right under the Fair Credit Billing Act to dispute those errors and to dispute them in writing within 60 days of receiving that statement. And in that case, your exposure may be less than $50, and you may not have to pay anything on the fraudulent charge.
You recommend reviewing bank statements monthly, just to make sure?
Definitely. Any financial statements that you receive or even that you don't receive, make sure that you review them regularly. If you receive it in the mail, check the statement, go line by line. If you share the account with other family members, make sure that you sit down and can verify each charge was made by you. And then likewise, if you have an online account, review it regularly. And I think we get in a kind of lull that we've got an online account that we just don't get the statement in the mail. We don't review it as much.
There's an opportunity also, if you use a lawyer, if you've challenged something on your credit report, isn't there an opportunity to use a lawyer where you can bring suit against the credit agencies if they don't clean it up after the challenge?
That's right. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, consumers have a private cause of action. In other words, the consumer can sue Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion if they fail to delete the inaccurate information, or if they fail to perform a reasonable investigation, or if they fail to block within 4 business days any information on your report that's due to fraud or identity theft.
A question here, someone believes their identity's been stolen. What should they do immediately?
Number one, need to go ahead and fill out a police report. Go to local law enforcement agency. If local law enforcement agency is not helpful, then go to a federal agency, but get a law enforcement report. Number two, if you know the account that was compromised, close it. notify the lender, the creditor, whatever financial institution that's responsible for the account, let them know that your identity has been compromised.
Okay.
And then thirdly, get your credit reports from all 3 credit bureaus and review them for any errors.
And one thing we will do, because I think this is a good idea, we will both on Facebook provide the link to the site where you can get your free credit report. We'll do the same thing on Twitter after tonight's show so that people have access to that information. And we'll also put a link on our website. If they go to our website at www.hollis-wright.com, it's all over the screen, hollis-wright.com. If they go to the attorney's page next to this show for this topic, we'll get a link. Micah, if you can provide it to us, we'll get a link so that we can allow people to go to the right place to fill out the form to go get a free credit report annually.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea for folks.
All right, time just remaining for a final thought. What do you guys want to make sure that the viewers learn?
Keep this in mind, that you have the right to a free report. You have the right to dispute any errors on the report. And if the credit bureaus don't fix the inaccurate information on your report, you have the right to go contact a lawyer who will handle your case on a contingency basis. In other words, you don't have to pay anything unless you recover against the bureaus.
If you've been involved in this type of fraud, come to us. We'll get you to him. Right. And this is a guy that you want to be around and spend time with if you've been through this circumstance, and he'd give you great advice.
Yeah, some great information tonight. And again, as Josh and Micah were saying, a lot of this information is going to be on the website. There you see it right there. You can find the firm. Call, text, email, find them on Facebook as well. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope it's helpful. We'll see you next week on The Attorney.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by the law firm of Hollis, Wright & Couch.